Okay, so this is the concept of class. So class is like more will come up in coming weeks and all around class. It's not something which is used a lot in day-to-day operations around data science or in general operations. Most of the things you can do by defining multiple separate functions also. But what a class means is that it is more of it has a lot of functionalities, and you have a lot of objects in Python, right? An object is just a collection of data variables and it has its own methods. So class is used to define multiple functions together with respect to a particular object. Okay, so you can think of it as you have taken a class, you have defined a class, and you have defined you have defined whatever objects are there, giving self dot name. So here this init function is there, right? It gets automatically created as soon as you create a class. It is basically used to initialize and to use and to basically assign values to different objects whichever are there. And here we can give multiple functions. All of those functions will get traced back to that particular class. Okay, now let's try to understand these concepts with the help of these exercises. Let's say, let me just open a single one. So yeah, create a class named my class. So how do we define it is we just write class and just submit it. So I defined a class. Now this particular class create an object of my class called P1. So I can create an object, and this is also called as instance. Okay, and this process is called instantiation. I just have to give square brackets here and it'll create an object. So this is what we did here. This was the class which was defined. This was the object. It was given us some value, and we just created an instance of it called P1. We can create some other named instance also. Now using that object or instance, we have to print the value of X. So just using the dot, I can assess the objects of inside whatever objects are inside there, this class, right? I can just assess them. So like this, what we did here is we just took P1. P1 was the object here or instance of this class, and we can, whatever objects we have defined here inside this class, we can assess them using a dot. Okay, cool. Now here, what is the correct syntax to assign an init function to a class? So init function is just for initiation. So this is how you can do it, like this. Here you are just giving self, name, age, and in init function you do it. Let me just open the tutorial of it. So yeah, here it's just explaining the same thing. In it, we can understand better here. To understand the meaning of class, we will understand the built-in init function, and all the classes have this function. And this function is just used to assign values to object properties or whatever other operations we want to use. And init function is called automatically every time the class is being used to create a new object. Okay. The self parameter which we see here inside the init function, it is a reference to the current instance of the class, whatever instance we are using. And whatever variables are here, it is used to access those variables. Like here they are using it, right? They have defined a function here. Let's try to take this specific one. Okay, let's just try to take this and let's try to understand it here. Okay. Cool. So let me just break the cell here, and here just a class person is defined. This is just the init function. If I just run it, so yeah, there is a little bit of indentation error. So I'll just correct it like this. I'll just do a tab to correct it. So yeah, this got defined. So as you can see, there are multiple functions that you can define inside a class. The init function, this is just for initiation, and this is default. By default, it comes with it. So this got defined, then this self, I can access it, and then I can use this self to whatever objects we're defining here, right? Directly I can access them using this. Now here I'm creating an instance of the class P1, and I'll just give it to the class name here, and then I can give whatever elements are there inside. Let's say these two names if I want to give. And if I'll just run p1.my function, then it should run this particular function. I don't need to give self, and it should do this. Okay. And if I want to add something else also here, let me first run this one. So it will return like this. If I want to add something else like just self.age, so it will just print the age also along with this. So it'll printing this, it's printing this as well. I can print more here, and I can print self.name as well. So it will print self.name, self.age, all of these. Okay. So this is what the concept of user class is. I can define more functions here. So let me just write age addition, or let me just create a function like age double, and I'll just give it something like self. And I want to basically print here now self.age multiplied by 2. Okay, so now here after my func, I also want to do age double. Okay, so it's just doubling the age here, 36 to 72. So like this, you can add multiple functions, so many functions you can add, and all of them can be, it's like a house. It's like a house, different members of it, there are different objects are different members of it, and then you can call them in different functions using self. Here you just initialize them. So you can create a good code. Instead of writing separate functions using def, you can create a class and you can assign all of the interrelated objects and functions to it. Okay. Okay, so one question is, in which cases do we use init? So see, init automatically gets assigned, like here it's written, right? The init function is called automatically every time the class is being used to create a new object. So whenever a new object is getting created, automatically it gets called. If you look at some more simpler format here, it's a built-in function, and all the classes have this init function. Whether you separately call it out or not, you have it by default. Whether you want to use it or not, that is totally up to you. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is your basic class, and these are your basic outputs. You can read more theory around it here. So in Geeks for Geeks also you can understand more theories of it. Like attributes are always public and can be accessed using dot my class dot my attribute. So yeah, this specifically this Geeks for Geeks, they have explained it really well if you want to understand it. So here you are just declaring different object and whatever attributes or whatever objects of a particular class you want to use, you can use using self, as we just now saw here. Self.age, self.name, and these are just the attributes which we had created. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is the basic theory around it. Then I added one more like day 7 of exercises around it. So let's look at this specific one, quotes. And here we just discussed that the concept of instance. So again, the concept which is covered here, right? This is specific one, P1. I created an instance of this class here. And then this P1 I'm just using to call different functions inside the class, like my func, age double, like this. And this instance I am calling specific objects from the class, and that is how I am just calculating these. So yeah, this one, let's try to see this code scope. Create a circle class and initialize it with radius. Okay, we are just creating the simple class and initializing it with radius. So the way we have done here, we have just initialized and we have created name and age. Similarly, we will create radius here. Then it is make two methods, get area and get circumference. So the way we have defined my func and age double here, similarly we will create two methods or two functions. See, methods are just functions corresponding to a particular objects or particular class. Class circle. Okay, let's just try to take it there and let's try to understand. Let's see if I can copy this. Yeah. Yeah, I think I didn't get copied. Okay, let me just create it instead of trying to. Okay, it's basically getting hidden as soon as I'm trying. Okay, but let's try to just understand it here itself. So this is the class circle that I'm creating. And then this is similar to what we have seen here, right? Def init, and then def myfunc, and then def age double, whatever we had done. So we created a class and we initialized it. So here they are initializing it and with only radius. So self comma radius, then you can do self radius equal to radius. This is how you can initialize particular attributes. Then you're just making two methods. So first method you're making is get area. Area is what? Pi r square. So 3.44 for r square. This is first r, this is second r. You're just multiplying them. So it is just returning those. Then you want circumference, and circumference is basically 2 pi r. So this is your r, this is your 2, and this is your pi. Okay. Then the next one is create a temperature class and make two methods, convert Fahrenheit, convert Celsius. So what we'll do, class temperature, and inside that it's defining self Celsius, return Celsius, whatever value will be given, multiplied by this to convert it to Celsius, and similarly return Fahrenheit. So if something like Fahrenheit is given, it will just return values like this. Okay. Then create a student class and initialize it with name and roll number. Make methods to display set age and set marks. So you have basically class of a student and you're initializing the name and roll number. Similarly, you're doing self name, self roll. Now the first method, what should it do? It should display all the information. So it will be simple. Just print self.name, self.roll. So here single brackets are not used, but if you're using Python 3, right, you will have to use single brackets before printing it. Okay. Then you have set age. So it should assign age to a student. So you're just basically creating one more age, and then similarly you're creating a marks as to assign marks to the student. So all of those things we have to assign using the self. this is the self. Okay, this is a class method.
Praful,
Yeah,
can I come in?
yeah, tell me.
The video clarity is low here. I can't read the letters properly.
Video clarity, letters are hazy.
Yeah,
Okay, do I just make them capital letter?
I'm trying to zoom in, but I'm still not able to read properly.
Okay, 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 cool. Let me uh, just give me 1 minute. Okay, is it better now? I just zoomed in a little bit.
Yeah.
Better, right? Okay, cool. So let me
Thank
just
you.
yeah. So just make this one bigger as well. Okay. So yeah, here what we are doing is we're creating a student class and initializing it with name and roll number, and we are just making the methods to display. So it's simple. You're just initializing it here, name and roll number, and once you have initiated it, you just have to use the self. This self, then you can print self.name, self.roll. This will give display your first thing. Then your second method is set age to assign age to a student. So you just create self age equal to age. Similarly, you just create. Now all of these you can simply call the way we have called it here, right? Once we have defined everything, we can create an instance like this. It'll create an instance, then we can call whatever functions are there inside, like display or set age or set marks, and whatever operations they are doing. Okay. Cool. Then for the last one, create a time class and initialize it with hours and minutes. So make a method. So first of all, let's do this. We are just initializing in simple way, self hours minutes. So self dot hours equals to hours, self dot minutes equals to minutes. This is how we initialized it. Here we have given a class. Now the first task is make a method add time. So I'll just write define add time, which should take two time object. So let me just give some random t1, t2 and add them. So you're just adding it. So the way, okay. So another one is make a method display time, which should print the time. So first of all, for creating add time, right? First of all, it's creating t3 equal to time 0 comma 0, and if t1 dot mins, this one t1 dot mins plus t2 dot mins is greater than 60, it should give t3 hours equal to adding these two divided by 60. Similarly, t3 dot hours equals to basically adding all of these hours, right? So this is only in the case if your time is given in the form of minutes. Similarly, this t3 dot mins, it is just adding these two, and it is just what exactly is happening here is this particular one, yeah, basically whatever is happening here, right? It is just adding these two time objects here. So this t3 is just hours. It will give you the value in hours and minutes the way they have given it here. Okay. In the second task, they are saying make a method display time. We should print the time. So this is your display time, and it is just giving time is self hours, and this is just giving some string which you can do away with, self hours comma self dot minutes. Then you have make a method display minute, which should display the total minutes in the time. So it should display total 62 minutes like this. So it's just doing self dot hours into 60 plus self dot minutes. So this one is simple. This one is simple. This one is just a little bit tricky, but you can make a simpler method for this as well. They have just tried to add them in a way that, you know, like you get both hours and you get it in hour and minute format. So whenever it is going over 60, Then they are basically making it divide by 60. They're trying to get the hours out of it. And you can get some extra minutes, right? Once you are dividing it by the total. That's why it's just giving whenever you're getting t3.min. So your t3 hours will be simple. It will just be the addition of your whatever t1 hours plus t2 hours and whatever this t3 hours you're getting. But whenever you're getting this t3 minute, right, in this, it should add these two and it should subtract the additional extra ones, whatever you're getting, whatever extra minutes you're getting. And at the end, it should return hours and minutes. So once that is done, it's just calling different ones like add time, then display time, and then display minute. All right. So this probably once you practice it, you will get it easily. So this is your exercises for day 7. Let's look at one more before we close on for today. So this was the second one which was given. In this, what is happening is here some basics are given, but after that, it's just creating an instance here. And again, the same thing is happening here is it's creating a init constructor. This function gets called every time you instantiate a class like this. So this is how you're instantiating a class. You're basically creating an instance of it. Okay. You can call a replica or something like that as well. So this is, it is initiated, and then it has just defined some random function which is just printing salary plus age. Then they have some questions here like which of the following represents a distinctly identifiable identity in real world. Okay. So this is your object. Object for a specific class, those will be distinct. Then which of the object represents a blueprint of the same type. So this is class. Which of the following marks the beginning of class definition? Basically class. So C. So yeah, you can probably look at some of these and you can try to see how is your understanding around it.